The snow outside the hospital painted the city in cold silence, but inside the emergency room, chaos roared. Monitors beeped, nurses rushed, and the sharp scent of antiseptic filled the air. Amid it all, Dr. Ethan Cole sprinted down the hallway, his breath short, his heart pounding. He wasn't just any doctor. He was a single father, a man who had learned to heal others while his own life had been torn apart. He didn't know that tonight. Beneath the harsh fluorescent lights, he was about to come face to face with the one person he never wanted to see again, the CEO who had destroyed his career and, in many ways, his soul. The ambulance bay doors burst open. "Incoming trauma!" shouted a paramedic. Ethan ran forward, pulling on his gloves, his mind already in motion. "Vitals?" he demanded. The patient on the stretcher was unconscious, her face pale, blood trickling from her forehead. The paramedic replied breathlessly, "Car accident. Severe head trauma. Female. Mid-40s. ID says." He stopped short, glancing at the name tag clipped to her jacket. Ethan reached for it and froze. The world around him seemed to fall away. The name burned into his mind. Rebecca Langford. His hands trembled. The name was impossible to ignore. Rebecca Langford, the CEO of Langford Medical, the corporation that had ruined his career 5 years ago. The woman who had accused him of malpractice for saving a patient who couldn't afford the company's insurance coverage. She had cost him everything. His reputation, his position, his peace. He had rebuilt his life slowly, piece by piece, in a small community hospital. But seeing her here, helpless and broken, brought every memory rushing back. "Doctor, what's wrong?" asked a nurse, her voice pulling him back to the present. Ethan blinked hard, forcing his voice steady. "Nothing," he said softly. "Get her to Trauma 1. Let's save her." His training took over. Hours blurred as he led the team, stabilizing her airway, managing the blood loss, performing emergency surgery. He buried the anger, the betrayal, the injustice, and focused on one truth. She was a human being who needed him. By the time they wheeled her into recovery, exhaustion sank into his bones. He stood by her bed, watching the monitors steady into a calm rhythm. She was going to live, but the question that tore through him was simple. Why? Why had fate brought her here, to his ER, to his hands? That night, as he sat in the staff lounge with a cup of cold coffee, his phone buzzed. A message from his 10-year-old daughter, Lily. "Good night, Daddy. Did you save someone today?" He smiled sadly. "Yes," he typed, "I did. Someone I never thought I would." He didn't know how to explain that to her. Some people weren't meant to be saved, at least not by the ones they hurt. The next morning, Ethan went to check on Rebecca. Her eyes fluttered open slowly. When she saw him, confusion washed over her features, followed by a flicker of recognition and fear. "You," she whispered. "Ethan Cole." He stood still, his expression unreadable. "You're lucky to be alive," he said. She swallowed, her voice breaking. "Why did you help me?" He hesitated, then looked her in the eyes. "Because that's what I do, no matter who's on the table." He turned to leave, but her voice stopped him. "I didn't want to destroy you," she said weakly. "I was protecting the company." "You went against policy. You made me choose." Ethan clenched his jaw. "You chose money over a human life." Her eyes glistened. "And I've regretted it every single day since." He froze, his anger faltering as he saw the pain in her eyes. Not the cold CEO he remembered, but a woman who had been carrying her own burden. Later that day, Rebecca's teenage son arrived. He was pale, frightened, and desperate. Ethan saw in him the same fear he often saw in Lily's eyes when she thought she might lose him. "She's stable," Ethan told the boy gently. "She's going to recover." The relief that washed over the boy's face hit Ethan harder than he expected. As the days passed, Rebecca began to recover, and with every interaction, the walls between them began to crack. She learned about Lily, how Ethan raised her alone after his wife died. He learned that after their confrontation years ago, Rebecca's husband had left her, taking their fortune with him. Her company had crumbled, and she'd been working quietly to rebuild, not as a CEO, but as a consultant for hospitals, trying to fix the system she once helped break. One night, as snow fell outside the recovery room window, she spoke softly. "You saved me once, by standing up for what was right. I didn't see it then, but now I do. You taught me what real compassion looks like." Ethan looked at her, emotions storming behind his calm eyes. "And you taught me what forgiveness costs," he said. When she was finally discharged, she asked him to meet her outside the hospital. I want to make things right, she said. Langford Medical is under new ownership. They're opening a new foundation, one that helps patients who can't afford care. I want you to lead it. He blinked, stunned. You think I'd work for you again? She smiled faintly. No. I think you'd work for the people you've always fought for. Ethan hesitated, the weight of the past pressing against the hope in her words. Then, after a long moment, he nodded slowly. I'll think about it. Months later, Ethan stood on the stage of a newly built community clinic. A plaque behind him read, "The Langford Cole Foundation for Compassionate Care." He glanced toward the front row where Rebecca sat beside her son and his daughter, Lily. For the first time in years, peace settled over him. He spoke to the crowd. Doctors, nurses, and patients, his voice steady and filled with emotion. We can't rewrite the past, he said, but we can choose to heal what's left of it. Forgiveness doesn't erase the pain. It transforms it into something stronger, something that gives others hope. The applause rose, echoing through the hall, and as he looked out over the faces before him, Ethan realized that sometimes life brings people back into your world not to reopen old wounds, but to finally heal them. The night he first saw her on that stretcher, he thought fate was cruel, but now he knew better. Fate wasn't cruel, it was merciful. It just waited for the right moment to bring redemption. And that night, as he drove home with Lily asleep in the back seat, the snow fell again. Soft, gentle, and forgiving, just like the heart he had finally learned to open once more.